nowadays you got to have that confidence because people nowadays.
Before we get straight into the podcast, I just want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Declan Kirby GAA Star. Declan Kirby GAA Star Championship Journey. It's a series of GAA team children's books written by primary school teacher and GAA coach Michael Egan. You can check it out in the link in the description down below, of course, as well. Follow the trials and tribulations of Declan Kirby and his team at Smithgreen Gaelic Football Club, recently formed but promising GAA team. The book is now available in Easons and all good bookshops, so check it out in the description down below, and let's get straight into it. What's the story, lads? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron. I hope you're all keeping wonderfully well. Halfway through the week, it is Wednesday, and 3 days before the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals this weekend. Kilkenny are playing Cork, Waterford are playing Limerick. Two absolute crunch games, two massive games in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. And just mad to think that we've only 3 games left of Inter-County Senior Hurling Championship hurling. I've said hurling twice, I don't know why I said that, but yeah, 3 games left in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship in 2021, and just 3 games left in football as well, so you know, time is going very, very fast. The championship is nearly over, and before we know it, it will be over. So look, listen, as always, I'm here to preview the games, to discuss the 2 games, to break them down, give my predictions, give my thoughts on what I think will happen, and it's going to be 2 very interesting games. You know, you have a repeat of last year's All-Ireland final and last year's Munster final in Waterford going up against Limerick. You've Kilkenny and Cork, who are actually only playing each other for the 2nd time in the championship since 2013. They also played each other in 2019, in which Kilkenny got the better of Cork by a scoreline of 227 to 318. So, you know, going back to 2013, Cork actually haven't beaten Kilkenny since 2013 in the championship. It was Cork who won that game back in 2013 in an All-Ireland quarter-final. And we will start by discussing Kilkenny and Cork first of all, because this will be a very intriguing game, because both sides are actually probably at the same playing field in many ways. Like, both sides, you know, if you go back in history, Kilkenny and Cork used to be the rivalry in hurling. You know, in the early 2000s, I think Kilkenny stopped Cork doing 3 in a row. I remember Cork beating Kilkenny in one big All-Ireland final as well. Like, it's happened on numerous occasions where Cork and Kilkenny were deep. You know, they were the Dublin and Kerry of the early 2000s in terms of the championship, like the two most successful teams in terms of All-Ireland wins in the championship. Kilkenny and Cork, nonetheless, I mean, I'm going to be interested to see how this game goes. I'm going to be watching the game, going to be doing a match reaction. You know I'm going to be making the match reaction as always. Kilkenny and Cork, you know, their first championship meeting since 2019, like I said, when Kilkenny got the better of Cork, winning 227 to 318. But one kind of big question mark is, could Kilkenny's lack of game time hurt them ahead of this game? You know, the Leinster final was on July 17th when they played Dublin, and they weren't even at their best in that Dublin game. Like, they didn't need to be. They were always in control. They were always cruising through the game. You know, Dublin obviously had a couple of injuries. Obviously, Owen O'Donnell was injured, and then obviously the COVID situation as well prevented Dublin from playing the likes of Ronan Hayes and Oisin O'Rourke and a few other lads as well. So it did make for some big problems for Dublin going into that game, and Kilkenny were always comfortable going down the home stretch. You know, and what's interesting is that since Kilkenny have played that game, Cork have played 2 games. They've played Clare, and obviously they played Dublin as well. Both sides actually coming into this game on the back of wins over Dublin. And Cork, I mean, they'll be match sharp coming into this, and they'll be confident getting that win over Clare, getting that win over the Dubs as well. And, you know, Cork are one of those sides that are very aggressive in their hurling. The way they get forward, the way they press forward, the way they get their wing-backs forward, the likes of Tim O'Mahony getting forward, Darragh Fitzgibbon. You know, you have Seamus Harnedy breaking beyond the full forward line as well. And it just causes so many problems for teams. And we've seen Cork create, you know, an unlimited amount of goal chances throughout the championship at different stages, especially against both Clare and against both Dublin as well. Kilkenny, on the other hand side of things, I mean, they're more than just TJ Reid now. You know, last year I felt like they were very over-reliant on TJ Reid at different stages. They've had a good crop of young lads coming through, the likes of your own Cody's, your Billy Ryan, Adrian Mullen in there as well, Paddy Deegan. Like, you've had a young crop of players coming through the ranks of Kilkenny at the moment. James Maher and James Bergen, 2 other players as well. And it's been about just trying to get them up to that same level and kind of embed them into the team. And I feel like over the past couple of years, that's what's been the most important thing for Brian Cody, is just slowly bringing through those young players. And I feel like some of those players are maybe just about to hit their prime now. maybe not hit their prime now, but they're starting to get very close to it. Like Owen Cody has looked fantastic so far this year. Been one of the best hurlers of the championship so far. Scored 1-5 against Wexford. He was exceptional, caught so much ball, was unbelievable in that game. And even in the Dublin game, although he only scored a point, his overall contribution, he was picking out the likes of TJ Reid, the likes of John Donnelly in better positions than him, and Kilkenny were able to just dictate the play through Owen Cody at different stages, who was fantastic in that game when Kilkenny won that Leinster Championship. James Maher, of course, was another man in that Dublin game who was exceptionally, scored 3 points, came off the bench in the Wexford game and was brilliant, just offering a bit of a different threat from wing back, getting forward, getting beyond his man. And I suppose in a game where Cork are probably going to get their wing backs forward and press a lot of men high up the pitch, there will be spaces on the counter-attack for Kilkenny to exploit Cork. And if James Maher can get forward and kind of, dictate his own influence in the game, it could certainly be massive question marks for Cork in this game. And whilst Cork's aggression and their very fast, dynamic, sort of modern hurling might dictate the game, and that might be what gets Cork the win, Kilkenny are just so efficient and cute, and just the way they play at different stages as well. They're just always in the game. They always play at that same tempo. They can always up the tempo if they need to be. They have got players off the bench as well. And whether it's Richie Reid dictating, the play in the middle, whether it's Darragh Fitzgibbon picking them up, I'm not too sure. You've got Adrian Mullen who will be in there for Kilkenny as well. And they always just seem to find the right options, which is the most impressive thing about Kilkenny. Whether it's John Donnelly, Martin Keown, they always seem to get into those right positions, which is certainly what hurt Dublin quite massively, and certainly what hurt Wexford in that game as well. And in the Wexford game in particular, they just would not lie down. Every time Wexford built up a 2 or 3 point lead, Kilkenny just kept coming back. And this Kilkenny side, this year in particular, they've reminded me quite a bit of the older Kilkenny teams, maybe of 4, 5 to 6 years ago, where they just would not go away. They were just always there. They just always kept coming back. And last year, I felt like Kilkenny, they never looked brilliant really in any of their games. They had one brilliant half against Dublin, they'd one brilliant half against Galway, but other than that, they weren't exactly brilliant consistently throughout the championship. And look, they weren't brilliant against Dublin either, but against Wexford they were exceptional. And if they produce that same level of hurling, it's going to be very hard to see how Cork curve that Kilkenny attack. I know they've done a good job on Clare at different stages in the game, but when you look at Cork and some of their different games, they have struggled to close out games. They even invited Dublin back into the game. Dublin weren't really at their best in that game at all. They were, they had some good moments, but certainly, Dublin aren't one of the best teams in hurling, and yet they still managed to claw that back to 4 points going down the home stretch. So it will be interesting to see how Cork manage the game as it goes on. And even just looking back at that 2019 game, Cork had so many goal chances in that first half. I remember that game very, very well. And Cork should have put Kilkenny to bed in the first half. Patrick Horgan was having chances, Seamus Harnedy, Shane Kingston. They were getting so many opportunities, getting beyond Kilkenny's fullback line, and Cork should have finished Kilkenny off. But, Cork didn't take those chances. They allowed Kilkenny to grow into the game, and Kilkenny got more and more space as the game went on, and eventually went on to win the game. And you would wonder, Kilkenny's defence has been a little bit suspect at different times. We've seen that in the Wexford game where they got caught out a couple of times. Even in the Dublin game, Dublin created 2 or 3 goal chances in that game as well. And although Dublin didn't really offer too much going forward, when they did actually get forward and when they did, break and get men forward, there were a couple of problems there. So that could be an issue for Kilkenny, because we know Cork, with the likes of Jack O'Connor, Shane Kingston, Robbie O'Flynn, all breaking forward at pace, they're going to create a lot of chances, and they're going to swarm Kilkenny at different stages as well, press them high up the pitch. How are Kilkenny going to be able to stop that? That is going to be the big question. Tim O'Mahony, he has been exceptional for Cork this year, one of the hurlers of the year in my opinion. Definitely gets in the All-Star Hurling Team of the Year, which will be out later in the week, so do stay tuned for that. I will be releasing the All-Star Team of the Year so far on the channel, so do stay tuned for that. But how are Kilkenny going to stop the influence of Tim O'Mahony? Will John Donnelly maybe pick him up? I really don't know. It's going to be a very interesting one to see, because Tim O'Mahony, man of the match in the Dublin game, just such a hard player to mark, because we're seeing this quite a lot in hurling, and it kind of started in football really over the past 10 years or so, and we've really started to see a transition to hurling over the past, 4 or 5 years with the wing backs getting forward, and we see Waterford getting the likes of Calum Lyons forward. We see Limerick do it, whether it's Dermot Burns or Kyle Hayes now. Like, the influence of the wing back is just so important, and Cork have really clicked onto that, and Tim O'Mahony has been exceptional so far this year for Cork, really just causing all sorts of problems. I think the bench is going to be another massive talking point as well. Like, looking at Kilkenny's players that they normally bring off the bench, James Bergen, Michael Carey, Walter Walsh, one of the most experienced players in the game. Killian Buckley's another fantastic option to bring off the bench as well. And then Cork have obviously got the likes of Shane Barrett, Alan Connolly, Conor Cahalan, like a lot of very good under 20 players in there, in particular Shane Barrett and Alan Connolly. So it is an interesting one. I just wonder, is it a bit too soon for Cork? Like, they do have a great crop of under 20 stars coming through. They won the 2020 All-Ireland, but they actually won it this year, of course, because it was delayed. And they're actually going to be playing in the 2021 under 20 All-Ireland whenever that game gets the go-ahead, because of the COVID cases that have arisen in the Cork camp recently. You actually wonder, could that even affect the senior team? Obviously tight-knit group and whatnot. I mean, maybe, it could actually affect some of the Cork players in the senior team, but I do feel like at some point those under 20s will start to come into the team, start to have more of an influence into the team, and Cork do have options there. But I wonder, is it too soon? And I wonder, like, how are they going to stop TJ Reid, Owen Cody, James Marr getting forward? I mean, there's a lot of questions, and to be honest with you, it's such a hard game to call. I mean, there's one part of me that feels like this is Cork's coming out party. I mean, this is where this young Cork team, the likes of your Jack O'Connors and Alan Connolly's coming off the bench, really come of age. Maybe a bit like Limerick in 2018 when they beat Cork. They were a very young team, and they really came of age when they beat that Cork team that day. Well, actually, they actually came of age really when they beat Kilkenny a few weeks previous. So you wonder, could that be something similar for Cork? Could this be their moment on the centre stage where they really kind of stand up and show that they are now All-Ireland contenders, that they are now one of the best teams in the country? And Patrick Horgan, we never even mentioned him. I mean, he's going to be involved in the game. He's going to be dictating the play at different stages as well. And how do Kilkenny stop him? I mean, there's so much questions, so much to figure out. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I want to predict Cork, I really do, because I feel like Cork have they probably have the better players, in my opinion. They're kind of an unknown quantity as well. They could catch Kilkenny cold. I'm going to go with Kilkenny by 2 points. Look, listen, I might be massively wrong on this, but I just think Kilkenny have had a different air about them this year. Owen Cody's been in tremendous form. TJ Reid's looked brilliant as ever. They look like a real kind of classic Kilkenny side, like even in the Wexford game, like I said before. I've kind of made my points already, but Kilkenny, for me, I think they're going to get the victory here. I think they'll probably just have a bit more experience as well than Cork. They did play in an All-Ireland semi-final last year, an All-Ireland final in 2019, and even their bench as well. Like, although Cork do have Alan Connolly and Shane Barrett, who are two good options, like, Kilkenny just have a bit more, in my opinion. Like, even Liam Blanchfield, he's another good option from the bench. Whether he's even in the panel, I don't know, but he would be another good option potentially if he is in the squad. So, I mean, yeah, Kilkenny will win it by 2. And in the other semi-final, it's Waterford and Limerick. And, I mean, is this Hurling's newest rivalry? It just might be, because this will be the third time in 7 months that Waterford and Limerick have played each other in the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. Well, actually, it'll be about 8 months, because the Munster final was in November. So, I mean, they played each other in that Munster final last year. They then went and played each other in the All-Ireland final. Limerick winning both games, getting both honours, both the Munster Championship and the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship as well. Waterford actually haven't beaten Limerick since 2011 in the 4 games that they've played each other since then in the Championship. 4 wins for Limerick, and they've all been fairly convincing, or fairly comfortable, we should say, for Limerick in winning those games. What a season for Waterford so far, though. I mean, they have had an exceptional season so far. I mean, like, beating Galway and getting that win over Tipperary as well, like, to knock out 2 of what many people perceived as 2 of the closest sides to beating Limerick. And here Waterford are. Here they have their chance. Now they're the side that many people are thinking are probably the closest to Limerick. And, right now, if we were to do a hurling power rankings, I'd have Limerick at 1. And I'd personally have Waterford at 2, because when you look at what Waterford have done over the past year and a half, like getting to an All-Ireland final, beating Kilkenny on route to that All-Ireland final. This year now they've gone and beaten Galway, they've gone and beaten Tipperary as well. They beat Limerick earlier in the league, so maybe that might stand to them, albeit that was a league game and maybe there wasn't as much on the line there. But like what we were saying earlier with Cork and their attack and play against Kilkenny. I mean, Waterford's attack and play at different stages is exceptional, and Jamie Barron coming back into the team. It's not often maybe that one player will come back into the team and just raise everything and just lift all the other players around them. But Jamie Barron has done that. I mean, in the midfield, he has been exceptional. Just winning so much ball, getting forward. I mean, taking his scores from 40 to 50 yards when he needs to. I mean, he's an exceptional hurler, and he's in hurler. He's so far in the 2 games he's played in Galway and both Tipperary. He was arguably man of the match in both of those 2 games. Maybe Austin Gleeson was man of the match in the Tipperary game, but Jamie Barron has been tremendous, and like if he continues that same form, he could easily go on and potentially be hurler of the year this year, or at least be in the conversation. One player that definitely is in the conversation is Austin Gleeson, playing much further up the pitch this year, playing much further up the pitch since Liam Cahill has took over. And again, like standing up when Waterford have needed him, and he's been a different player in many ways since Liam Cahill's took over. Like, we always seen Austin Gleeson had the potential and the talent, and we know how good of a hurler he is. But maybe in the past he was taking chances or rushing opportunities from too far out. Whereas now he's getting in the right places, he's making the right decisions, and he's a team player. But not only that, he's benefiting his team as well. I mean, he's been absolutely brilliant for Waterford so far. Scored 1-3, I believe, in the last game against Tipperary. Absolutely exceptional. And not only that, but you've got Desi Hutchinson, who at different moments looks absolutely top class, just being in the right position at the right time, a bit of a poacher. Stephen Bennett as well, like always a handful, and on the frees he's going to be slotting the majority of the frees he gets. So Waterford will cause Limerick a lot of problems, but to be honest with you, I just don't see a world in which Limerick don't not just win this game, but not win the All-Ireland. I just don't see a world where Limerick don't win the All-Ireland this year. I mean, like, after that second half performance against Tipperary, and it's kind of, maybe we'll see that with Dublin in the football at some stage, like, sometimes with great teams, you need something to kind of get you into gear. You need something to kind of raise you up. You need something to really sort of anger you or sort of elevate you. And that was kind of what happened with Limerick. Like, they were so poor in the first half against Tipperary. Tipperary wiped the floor with them. They were 10 points up at half time, and Limerick were struggling. And that was kind of the time where John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk probably talked to the Limerick players and said, look, listen, this is your time. Like, you need to stand up here. You need to show why you are All-Ireland champions, why you are Munster champions, why you are one of the best teams in hurling right now, or the best team in hurling right now. And by God, did they do it. I mean, they stepped up. They didn't just step up. They wiped the floor with Tipperary. I mean, they stepped up twice, if that's possible. I don't know. They stepped up further. I mean, Carl Hayes, exceptional at wing back, getting forward, and obviously scored one of the great goals of hurling of all time. Aaron Gillan, who we know should have been sent off in the Tipperary game, but other than that, he was brilliant. And 6 points on the day, coming off the bench, stepping up the mark. Gerard Hegarty stepping it up as well. Keane Lynch, another man as well. And like, the thing is for Waterford is, how are they going to deal with Limerick's swarm? I mean, we seen that in the final last year, where Limerick just pounced on Waterford every time they had the ball. And like, they didn't allow Waterford to play this kind of style that they want to play. Limerick got on their faces, got the blocks in, stopped Caleb Lyons from going forward, and it was just so tough for Waterford to really try and deal with that. And like, Limerick just played Waterford at their own game, stopped them from playing the hurling that they wanted to play, and in the end won the game by 11 points, and there really wasn't anything Waterford could do about it. So ultimately, I do think Limerick will win it by 6 points. I do think Waterford will have some interesting options coming off the bench. Maybe Neil Montgomery, Michael Kiley's looked quite bright coming off the bench as well, but I just think that Limerick will have too much. I mean, they're not necessarily a team that relies on individual brilliance. I mean, you could say that about Waterford as well. But like, Limerick, they just have so much options all across the pitch, and their big players step up when they need to. They've stepped up when they've needed to every year, other than 2019 and that semi-final. And what's interesting is you could have a repeat of that in the All-Ireland final, which I'd really, really look forward to if that was what happened. I suppose that's what I'm predicting, but we will see what happens. Limerick, though, I just think they'll have too much than Waterford, and I just... I'd love for Waterford to do it. Waterford haven't won an All-Ireland in such a long time, and it'd be great to see them do it. And if they did go on and win the All-Ireland, like beating, Galway, Tipperary, Limerick, and either Kilkenny or Cork, I mean, there's not many better ways to win an All-Ireland than that. But yeah, I just think Limerick will have far too much here, and they'll win it by 6 points. Anyway, lads, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will be dropping my hurling team of the season so far. That'll be out a little bit later in the week. And the football team of the season so far will be out a little bit later in the week as well. So we'll be going through my all-star football and hurling team of the years. Both released in separate videos, of course. So do stay tuned for that. They'll be out on both Thursday and Friday separately. So stay tuned for those videos. Stay tuned for more podcast interviews, fan reactions, absolutely everything. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow on Instagram, Twitter, all social media pages. They're all in the description down below. And I'll see you all soon.